The water supply status has normalized considerably compared to last week, Friday. There may be a few areas that are still experiencing no water, but this could be due to airlocks, which our teams on the ground are tending to. The system was impacted by the 3 days of incidents, namely on the 10th of February, which was power failure impacting Ekenhof pump station. Secondly, around the 11th and the 12th, power failure impacting Swartkopis and Ekenhof power pump stations. So Johannesburg Water has observed and monitored significant progress on the overall recovery of the system that were impacted by recent past events, which included power failures that affected pumping capacity to many Joburg water reservoirs and towers. Post the 14th of February, further incidents also impacted the supply of Johannesburg system. And this was one in Letabo, a Letabo incident which happened on the 16th of February impacting Swartkopis and Ekenhof pump station. The second one was Vryburg incident which happened on the 18th impacting the Ekenhof pump station. On the third one is the City Power incident on the 19th February, impacting Rand Water's Ekenhof pump station. So these incidents led to further impact and reduction of our systems, and where reservoirs and towers were critically low, and in some instances empty, and reduced the rate of recovery. So in simple terms, as we're trying to recover the systems, some of the pump station also collapsed. Your City Power, which took about 8 hours to restore. The Vryburg one, which was the one that was most difficult, but I think we're able to restore it around the Wednesday of that week. So this impacted on our ability to recover quickly. And technical interventions by both Rand Water and Joburg Water technical teams are working hard to contribute efforts to progressively realize recovery and to improve the affected reservoirs and towers in order to boost supply and sustain capacity. We have approved extra teams to work during the week and weekend to attend to emergencies and backlogs. We've initiated a process to recruit fitters, welders, and bricklayers to enhance capacity to attend to PVR maintenance and operations. With regards to the Alexander Park and Berea system, we have now reached stability over the past few days, as can be seen on the systems update reports which we normally issue. Customer complaints have drastically minimized. We continue to conduct the exercise of removing airlocks. We also remain committed to ensuring quick responses to bursts and leaks on any part of the system so that we minimize water losses. There are sporadic areas of the system that are disrupted due to operations and maintenance repairs. Johannesburg Water also has resorted to additional intensive water loss reduction to address the issue of high water demand, which I think all of us know we are grappling with. These are, but not limited to, 1, to pressure reducing valve maintenance and rehabilitation, establishing new pressure management zones and minimum night flow analysis, proactive leak reduction, and in the main, bylaw enforcement, which includes accelerated level 3. We'll explain what level 3 is. Johannesburg Water has also been implementing a water supply reduction throttling since 8th of November 2024, a measure that has been communicated to residents, which is done on a rotational basis. There is now an increased list of restricted sites, which include halting pumping to towers. This is done to manage the high consumption and support recovery of the system. I also remind our residents that the City of Johannesburg remains under Level 1 water restrictions, and it is important to constantly remind our residents that we're on Level 1, and thanks to the rain, that no one had to use clean water to water their gardens. Let them keep it that way. Customers are warned not to abuse water, as this can lead to declaring Level 2 water restrictions. It has been raining heavily over the past few days, so it is hoped that the customers took advantage and probably harvested some of the rainwater. To further amplify our messaging on water conservation in our city, we have recently embarked on an educational awareness campaign with SABC Radio and TV. We launched it yesterday, the 20th of February. The campaign forms part of our wider stakeholder management, creating awareness to residents of the city to encourage responsible water use. We also plead with you as the media and as one of our key stakeholders to help spread the message to influence positive behavioral change in our communities. I wish to also indicate that my office has engaged Johannesburg Water Management about the reported alleged corruption related to the 263 million water tanker tender, or the tender case. And the case is currently before our courts, and internal auditors are conducting an investigation. You are aware that there's been a story of water tankers to an amount of about 263 million. The matter is in the courts, and we await the courts to conclude the case before we can move forward on that matter. Now more than ever, it is imperative that we change our habits when it comes to water use. In conclusion, I just want to address the emerging reports that there's an audio recording detailing sketching allegations cited in the Star newspaper. According to the Star newspaper, the audio clip was recorded in a clandestine meeting where two members of the mayoral committee, two ANC officials, and a rainwater official allegedly discussing strategies on destabilizing the mayor's leadership by shutting down water flow from Johannesburg as long as possible, suggesting that the water cuts that have plagued the city have been orchestrated to portray the mayor as unfit to secure adequate water supply for the residents. We note that this ploy is said to be part of a political scheme to render the city ungovernable and the mayor of its authority. These damning allegations will not be taken lightly, and will explore legal counsel and possible options, not ruling out possible approaching law enforcement agencies for a possible probe to investigate should these allegations be found to be legitimate. I thank you. With the question by Alpha, there's not been a meeting with the provincial government this week. The only meeting that happened is the meeting that happened today, which is called the IGR meeting. Purpose of it is to look at issues around the economy and how the province of Gauteng, MEC Maile, would work with our MMC on matters related to the economy, and secondly, on the matters related to the budgets, which our MMC of Finance is also in that meeting, which is happening now. Over and above that, that is the discussion that has been there. But it is also important to note that the city of Johannesburg took cognizance of some of the challenges that are affecting us as a city. And in a management meeting, we then implemented the political program that was adopted last year, if you remember, which was launched together with the Premier, called the Rejuvenation of the Inner City. So we then took a view that all our departments and entities, as of Wednesday, Wednesday it was the 19th. No, today is the 21st. As of the 19th, all our department entities will be deployed in the inner city to deal with issues of bylaw enforcement, service delivery. So as we speak, you'd know that every day we are in the inner city. We're currently focusing in Ward 59, Ward 123, Ward 60, and partially Ward 124. And will then be extending the service to all the 11 wards. The total wards we have in the city are 11. So we'll then be extending to other wards with a clear intention that we need to clean the inner city. We need to push back on anarchy. We need to push back on infrastructure collapse. We need to push back on lawlessness in the inner city. So JMPD is fully there. So we are going to continue that project for the longest of time until we come back and the residents of Johannesburg can say the city is now clean, there's order in the inner city, and crime has been reduced quite drastically. Hijacked buildings has been attended to. So that's what we are doing. Today, I think we've also locked one building which does not comply, and EMS has declared it not fit. So there's work that we are doing, including dealing with homeless people. Yesterday, one of them at least was reunited with his family. So there's work that we are doing practically, and let's see the results at least in the next month towards the end of March. And would like the media to evaluate whether we're doing well. We've also agreed that we'll meet other stakeholders in the inner city, property owners, SMME entities, and so on, so that they also participate in the project. We have also asked our ward councillors to convene public meetings, and that public meetings to make a call to our communities to also join in this program, because at the end of the day, communities must also take responsibility not to litter, not to throw rubbish, not to bypass meters, not to illegally connect. So they have a responsibility to also help us, because we want to reclaim the inner city, bring back Johannesburg, because bringing Johannesburg basically means continuous growth in the economy, continuous growth in protecting properties of people outside here, so that your property values remains to increase. Otherwise, if you don't sort out this thing, it will also affect your property values. It will also affect our ability as the city to collect revenue. So it's an important project that we have committed ourselves to Alpha. So in essence, we're getting a lot of support from provincial government. We're also getting support from national government. And you'd know that in the last 2 days, we had to ensure that we keep the route towards the G20 meetings to be proper, cutting the grass, keeping the traffic lights working. We had a challenge yesterday morning with Grace things. They say I don't pronounce it proper. What is that, Alex? Yes. They say I'm not pronouncing it properly. My children normally say, "Hey, Papa, you are wrong here." It's what? Grace thing. And it was not working, which affected the movement of delegates, and we immediately intervened. JMPD was deployed. In the meantime, whilst they're restoring the traffic lights, JMPD deployed pointsmen to ensure that traffic flow. So there are interventions that we had to do, but we must also indicate that traffic signals have become one of our bigger problems. We're focusing on it. Much of it is as a result of vandalism, where they cut the whole pole, remove the copper, remove the SIM card, and they are gone. And for us to recover that also requires resources, and that's the challenge that we have. I think I've sufficiently responded to Alpha, including on the matter of the recordings. I don't have the recordings, but it was important for the Executive Mayor's Office to respond. because these are serious allegations that have went through to the media, and therefore we have to ask, because if you look at the nature of the allegations, boils down to what is called treason, because in essence you are interfering with national key points. Therefore, it requires the attention of law enforcement agencies. Whether it's true or not, it's something else. A competent institution, which the law enforcement agencies, has to confirm whether these things are there or not. And I cannot sit as the mayor and say, it's just a story. Something has to, I must take a responsibility and ask the institutions which are relevant to find if there's substance in the allegations that were put there. Because if you read, they actually boils down to treason, precisely because you are alleged to have destabilized national key points. Level 3 refers to when we now say, in this instance of the statement, would refer to the removals of the meter. But in essence, level 3, if we're to declare level 3, it simply means that the tariff structure increases and changes completely to try and reduce the water consumption. As you know, we are being apportioned a certain amount of water by Rand Water, and we are currently over what we have already been apportioned. And that is why we're on level 1 to try and reduce usage and consumption of water by our residents so that we can keep ourselves to that percentage that we have been apportioned water to. But it is also important that the media must also go out in helping us to educate our communities. Because at this stage, our dam levels are sitting at about 85%, which is very good. And thanks to the intervention by, should I say, Khosimujaji, by the intervention and the prayers, and we have enough water. But we must understand how this thing works, because it's very important for the media to tell a story. That in fact, while we're apportioned and Rand Water is also restricted to a certain percentage, is not extraction, there's a better English word, abstraction of the water. It's because we have to, at every given time, ensure that we've got sufficient water levels. Should there be a drought, it can then carry the country at least 3 years without really battling that much in terms of water for people to drink. So it's an important thing that we understand why it's so important that communities should use the water sparingly. But we are glad now we promised 7 days that we will work throughout. And today is the 7th day since we went to Aikenhof, and the water has been restored to everywhere in Johannesburg. Given the barrier, this morning, they all now have water. However, we are not at the level we want to be at. We are pumping at about 50%, and we are requesting you to still use the water sparingly until we are pumping at about 80%. We think will be more comfortable.